Welcome to another episode of the Eventual Knits podcast. My name is Leah, also known as Miss_LJV on Instagram and as Eventual on Ravelry. Today is, August 19th. It's Monday. I'm like super impromptu sort of doing this. I recorded a video, a short one, last Wednesday that was like talking about some exciting yarns that I got, and I just never got around to like editing and uploading it. So I apologize for that. I hope to be getting that up soon. Today, it's a gorgeous day out today, so I am recording from a corner of my backyard. I hope that our AC unit, whatever the big wiry fan thing isn't too loud. But yeah, anyway, I never got around to uploading it, and I'm sad. And I was thinking like, okay, well, I can just redo the video. I could just add the yarns to this video, but I'm pretty sure I liked that video, so I might just upload it like later than intended, be a sort of latergram kind of video. So, because it's really good yarn, and I want to make sure that gets out there. So we'll do that. But yeah, so welcome to part of my backyard. This is the corner of it. This is a good place where it's like not too sunny, because we are located where like the sun rises back there and then completely goes all the way around and then sets over there. So we get a lot of sun in our yard during the day in various parts of it. And we have some really tall trees, but we also have a lot of sunny space in our yard. Anyway, so I didn't bring anything to drink with me today, so let's just get started. I have a finished object. So the only finished object that I have with me is my diamond Duality. Look at this. Look at this. Oh, you guys, it's so good. I've worn it so much since I finished it because it is soft and squishy and beautiful. So I am super happy with how it turned out. This was a test knit I did for Lisa Ross of Paper Daisy Creations, and it is almost, I think her sample was like 70 inches, mine's like 68. Her depth I think was 21 inches and mine's like 20 and a half. So it has two sections of diamond lace. So it starts, you knit it down here, and then you go here, or black is hard to see here, and then it goes into some more garter with some slip stitches, which are a little hard to see. And then more garter and slip stitches, which are easier to see. And then another diamond section, which is much bigger. And then one more section of slip stitches and the edging. This was a super, super fun knit. It went by really fast for how big it is. One of the questions on her survey was how long it took you to knit it, and I normally kind of try to keep track of how long things take me if I'm working on it in big chunks, but since I was kind of bringing this a lot of different places, I did not track that very well. And so I don't know, Steve and I were talking and we're like, I don't know, 45, 50 hours maybe. But a lot of that was because I was working on little bits of it here and there. I wasn't always just sitting down in chunks. It was easy to take along to a lot of places if I wasn't working on the lace sections, and there's only 2 sections of those, so it's not super demanding as a whole for the shawl. So the gradient is, of course, KnitCircus yarns in the Secret Garden colorway. It starts out with this deep purple, this very, very deep violet, and then goes all the way up to this really happy sunshiny yellow. I think at the end of knitting this shawl, I want to say I had 6 grams of the color, of the main color left, or CC1 is what she calls it. And then I think I had 13, and that the ball is 440 yards, and so the pattern does say that it calls for 435 yards, and so that seems about right ish. And then the CC2 is the black, is Jackson Yarn Co. DR's made in the colorway King of the North, and that was a 400 yard skein, and I used, I think it was 400 or 387 yards, so I think something. I think I had 13 grams left, whatever that is. 13 times 4, maybe it was more than that, like 60 some, 70 some. It's in my project page. Maybe I'll link my project page. But anyway, it used a lot of CC1. My shawl used a lot of CC1, and I think a bit less of CC2. So it used a little more of CC1 than her pattern called, or than she used, and it used less of CC2 than she used. That's what I found, and it was really interesting in that way. But both of my yarns are from beloved book series. Secret Garden is one of like the books of my childhood, and I recently re-listened to it and relate to Mary Lennox even more than ever now, and that's, yeah. And then of course King of the North is a reference to Game of Thrones, and I've read the book series. I have not seen the show. I plan on seeing the show at some point, but I haven't yet. I feel like I cannot handle stressful things right now, and I just feel like there's such a difference between reading about like violence and etc. and seeing it, and so I'm not sure how that will go for me, but yeah, we'll see. So that's the only thing I've really finished as of yet. I did finish a washcloth in the Granny's favorite washcloth or whatever on that like ye olde site, super old page, probably hasn't been visited in like 6 years or more, because I found that dishcloth is actually not so bad now that I've started revisiting it. I know I've complained a lot about that pattern, but it's actually super easy in terms of like, I shouldn't say that, I already knew it was easy, but it's not as boring as I remember, in that it's like completely mindless, so I don't even have to pay attention when I'm doing it, so I can't be bored if I'm not even like aware when I'm knitting it. It's just like for work meetings, and when I'm just like listening or whatever kind of downtime. And so I finished one of those, one of ? I would like to keep working on those so I can have a bunch just ready to give as gifts on Christmas, because my family loves washcloths. I did not bring that because I didn't think about it till just now, but it is knit in, I assume, whatever that normal cotton yarn is that you can get from like Michael's or Joann's, but I definitely ordered it from Etsy, I think, like someone reselling like a pack of them, and I really liked the colors, so I bought a bunch. I've just like bought a whole set. Those are the only 2 things that I have finished. Sorry, there was a cricket. I tried to set up on the other side of the yard 4 years ago. One of our trees had rotted out and we didn't know it, and it cracked, and it was like 60 feet tall or something, and it fell on our house, and actually a branch came through the house, like came through the wall. We got super lucky, for people who have trees fall on their house, in that insurance covered most of everything, and none of the, I think, soffit, none of the like structural beams in our roof were damaged. It was just the wall and the siding and our like fireplace vent thing at the top, which was super old anyway, and the shingles. So most of that was replaced. Getting the tree cut down and hauled out and all that stuff, I think when all was said and done we paid less than $1,000, so that was actually pretty nice. But since then, I mean, that stump has been sitting there and it has, you know, like the stones around it and stuff like that, like it had been framed and whatever, and there's probably like, it was like 4 feet tall, just like the shredded stumpy remains, and a couple months ago the remainder of that sort of like cave, like collapsed out, like whatever bugs or things that are in there or the rot had completed itself, and now it's sort of growing over with a bunch of like tall plants, and I think it's like pretty cute, pretty cute backdrop, but it's like downhill like, so it's like a slight slope, but I think setting up the podcast there would be look like a pretty extreme angle, or like I would look really down and far away, so I also was concerned about the sun moving into my face, although I am concerned about it doing that now, which is strange because it should be going away from me, but just the way the trees are leaning. Yeah, so anyway, when I traveled from there to here, I had a Cricut Traveler. I don't know where, he just hopped into my little tray and came with, so I was like looking, thinking that he was there, but it was, or another one was there, but it's just a little leaf. Yeah, anyway, that's my yard story. That's all for finished things, but I have a few things that I am working on. So, first thing that I am working on, I actually started on Friday, and it is actually another pattern by Lisa Ross of Paper Daisy Creations, and that is kind of a coincidence. I was just looking for patterns that I would really enjoy, and tank tops that I really enjoy, because I'm really in like the idea of doing tank tops and wearing them before it gets too cold. Sorry, there's like a horsefly flying around me and probably biting me. And yeah, so we went to Madison on Friday, and so I had a lot of road trip knitting, because Steve is super nice and he drives on long road trips so that I can knit. And so I got 4 hours of knitting there and 4 hours of knitting back, and I only brought one ball, or one skein of the yarn with me, and so I used the entire thing up on the trip. And that yarn is this. It is Barocco Folio, and I purchased this at the Yarnery. It's 65% superfine alpaca, 35% rayon. It says it's a lightweight yarn, a 3. So it's definitely fingering weight, has a little bit of a halo, is really soft. Really soft. And that's what I'm using for this. And this is how much I got knit in the one skein. I feel like it's impossible to get the true color. It is such like a, I wonder if this helps a little better. This is okay. It's still kind of red. It's like a heathered candy red, I kind of feel like. Like it's like candy red, but like also has streaks of white in it, kind of. And yeah, so this is what I got. Got the ribbing on the hem, and then a twisted rib on this. This is all twisted rib, and then this is also twisted rib, and then stockinette on the front and back. And you need well, for my size, you need 9 inches. I'm knitting I think I'm knitting the small. It's the second size. And this is supposed to be around 2 inches of negative ease. And so I have a 37-inch bust, and I chose the 35, I think it's 35.25. And so that's what I am working on. And I cannot remember what these stitch markers are, but they are so cute. They're just tiny little things. which is like a really cute little twisted shape. Just want to see if I have the tag. I don't think I have the tag, because I don't think the tag really said anything on it, but I bought them from KnitCircus when I visited, and because KnitCircus their storefront is in Madison, and I bought them because I had been using little pieces of yarn, because I didn't read ahead in the pattern before I started to see that it was important to have more than just the one stitch marker. So I had this one. Yeah, there's definitely a bug biting me. I just like tried to like give myself a, I'm sitting on like one of those like Adirondack chairs with the little slats, and so I tried to like set up my shawl in a way that hopefully the stupid fly could not bite me through the slats. Like, come on, can I please just enjoy the outside, please? But yeah, so I am super pleased with this so far. It is very cute. I cannot wait to try it on, cannot wait to wear it, cannot wait to have it for the end of the summer. It's gonna be awesome. And then the other thing that I am working on is I started a new pair of socks for Steve. So this is as far as I got. I started this again, like I said, on the way home. I got the cuff done, and I got these are going to be shorty socks, so this is as far as I got, and then now I need to start the heel flap. I'm really liking these colors. So these are actually part of Canon Handdyes. Wow, it turned off finally. These are part of Canon Handdyes. She did a Yarn of the Month club for Miyazaki films last year, and so this is I chose the polar opposites, and so that means that each yarn comes with a skein and it's polar opposite, so you get mismatched socks. And I mismatch my socks when I knit them, but Steve and I both mismatch our socks when we wear them, and so this is perfect for him, and he was really excited about the colorways. And each colorway did come with a mini skein of for the heels, toes, and cuffs. So I have only knit Steve the one pair of socks, and all I know, I knit the other pair toe up, and so all of my stuff on there is for toe up socks. I'm hoping that I can just reverse engineer it just fine, and so far it's working out well. I just know that he likes the slip stitch heel, and that he wants his stuff to not match. Hoo hoo. I really wish I had a fly swatter out here. Anyway, so I am really excited about these, and he's really excited about them, because so far he only has the one pair of socks, and he's very jealous that he doesn't have as many pairs of socks as I do. And this yarn is Castle in the Sky, Charles Merino. So I think she names hers based upon whether it's Charles, which is a merino, she makes merino wool, or I think Bruce is the other one, and Bruce is a yak, I believe. And so this is 80% superwash merino and 20% nylon, 200 yards a piece, so 400 yards total. And that was a super cool, oh, it's just a bee. That was a super cool club, only it was just a shipping error, but like I missed, I think, 1 month or maybe 2, because she didn't invoice me, and then I, in the classic Minnesota Nice, was like, well, maybe, you know, she just forgot to notify me or whatever. And then by the time I finally got up like the bravery to contact her or whatever, it to be like, because I really hate messaging people or like being like, hey, did you forget this thing? Because a lot of times they haven't. A lot of times it's just running behind or running a little bit late. like Lola for Lola Bean is a perfect example. When she does pre-orders, like they take like 2 months a lot of the time. It's like a long time, and people I know, because she posts about it on Instagram, like angrily message her like demanding their stuff and appear to be really rude and all that kind of thing. And like that's just not me. Like I can be patient. I'm definitely the person who will get forgotten about at the doctor's office and wait entirely too long to like open the door and be like, are you coming to follow up with me, or should I go? You know, that happens to me more often than you think. And so that's exactly what happened in that situation. And so I think I missed one, and I'm not sure which month it was that I missed. In my head I'm like, okay, it wasn't that big of a deal. It wasn't a month that I cared that much about, but I could be wrong now that I'm like, when I went through and looked and I was like, I don't have a house moving castle. Did she do a house moving castle? You know, I was very stressed about it. But yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it was really cool. I'm so happy that I did it. My favorite one out of that actually was the Princess Mononoke colorways, because they were very different. Like I feel like a lot of the other ones were kind of similar, just, I mean, because again, Miyazaki has really similar color palettes and themes in a lot of the movies, and so it's a lot of blues and greens. And so that was nice. That one was nice because it was more of like taupes and browns, and the heels, toes, and cuffs color was a like sort of deep maroon burgundy kind of color, and that it's really all of her colors like super pop. Like it's just very vibrant. If I did it again, I would probably, if I did one of her clubs again, I think I would choose the pinstripes or the 6 stripes or whatever, just because it's a lot more variety. But at the time, I had just started buying, like I think just started buying from indie dyers, and I didn't really understand which was what, and I really wanted to get into it, and I didn't really care. All I knew is I really wanted the vibrant colors, which would be the Charles, and not the sort of muted colors, which would be the Yak, because the Yak is brown. But yeah, so there's that. And that's it for all I'm actively working on. However, I just finished a test knit for Lisa Ross for a shawl, and I am doing another test knit for her for a shawl, even though I know that I think September, October is going to be booked with hopefully doing a test knit for Kalina Knits, but we'll see. I could not pass up this test knit. It is so pretty. So it takes 1 full skein, so I chose, this is actually the whole shawl yarn is actually going to be Wonderland Yarns Cheshire Cat. This is a sock fingering weight, 512 yards in 100% superwash merino. And this, so Cheshire Cat is like the theme or whatever, like, but it's not the colorway. The dye lot is 12. But what is the color? Oh, Brillig? Brillig? And it's the super vibrant, beautiful, vibrant blue. That's the main color of the shawl. And then, I've showed you these before, but it uses a gradient, or uses colors, and I use these. I'm going to use these as my mini skeins. So it's a gradient. I think it goes this way. And this all came together in a set, and again, it's Wonderland. I didn't buy these at the same time. I actually just bought the blue recently, and I bought these like in the spring. This is Wonderland Yarns, again, Pigments of Imagination Cheshire Cat. This one is 128 yards per 1 ounce skein. 5 skeins equals 640 yards. And the style out is 49. Oh, it's called Color Morph Salmon to Yellow, number 30. So, it's a very bright, fun, vibrant shawl. And so I cannot wait to use this yarn in it. I feel a little guilty because like her original, like her sample is not super different. The shawl is called the Sun Spotter Shawl, and so hers is a blue and it is like oranges and yellows, but I think it has reds in it, and mine is mostly like the deepest color is like a salmon, and then it's kind of a lighter salmon, and then it's like a real half between a light yellow and a light salmon, and then a more faded yellow, and then the more vibrant-ish yellow, the more sunflower yellow. So it's gonna still look different, but it also kind of looks similar. And so it's like, I swear I'm not trying to copy you. I really like that. This is the perfect thing for these yarns. So I am really looking forward to knitting that. And speaking of Cheshire Cat's Wonderland yarns, I also picked up these. So these are, again, 512 yards? Yes, 512 yards a piece. So this is, 1,024 yards. So this is perfect for a lot of things, t-shirts, sweater, whatever. And it's this really nice teal color. The official color is Fiddlesticks. Fiddlesticks. And so I plan on making something with this at some point. And I actually got these, I was at an appointment last week, and my friend wanted to be picked up in the area, but I got out of my appointment earlier and he was busy, and so I texted Steve and he was like, go to a yarn store, and I don't really live in that area, and so I just Googled yarn near me, and lo and behold, there was a local yarn shop near there. It's called Unwind, and I went in there and I, sat on the floor, and I saw these yarns right away, and I was like, oh my god, I have to find, what do I want? And so I ended up with this, and of course the blue, and it is great. I had a mixed experience in that shop. There were two women who seemed to be working there. One was extremely young and one was sort of middle to older. And the extremely young one was really nice. And the older one, we had kind of a weird interaction about the internet. So she kept asking me if I was okay, because I was sitting silently on the floor. And a lot of it was because I was trying to get my phone to load patterns. Because I like to buy yarns with something in mind. I want to have some sort of idea of something, and so I was trying to look up, I was really trying to look up how many yards you needed for the Sun Spotter Shawl, just to make sure that I had the right color. And then for this, I was pretty okay, but I also still wanted to see, if I wanted to make one of the sweaters I already have in my stash, or in my Ravelry library, would this be enough? Or at least would it be enough for most of it, and then I could have a contrasting color, or something, right? And she kept asking me if I need help, and I was like, no, the internet's just working really slowly. And I noticed that they had Unwind Yarn Shop _guest, and so I was like, oh, does your guest Wi-Fi have a password that I can use, or something like that? And she got super weird about it and was like, no. And I was like, okay, what am I supposed to say to that, that attitude? And so I was like, okay, well, it says guest on it, so maybe you should change that. And it was just weird, and I just ignored her the rest of the time, and she ignored me. So but that shop is part of the southeasty whatever sort of local yarn shops. I guess there's a lot of them also in the south of the Twin Cities as well, and they just did their version of Peep. So remember, Peep was Progressive East End project, and that's all of the stores on the east side of the Twin Cities. This is their version of it. I don't remember what it was, but it was cool because this year they all chose really soft colors, soft lavenders and blues and teals. And each shop had, of course, one of the skeins, but instead of doing a thing where it's mini, a big skein for a project plus a bunch of little mini skeins, it's just that each shop, I don't know if each shop had a skein or if each shop because that would be really expensive if each shop had one skein. I'm not 100% sure how it worked, but suffice to say, the main project was like a really pretty cloud-shaped shawl, or like it was like little waves, and not in a feather and fan. It was like actually looked like little clouds. And then, but then each shop did a one skein project, and so they did socks. And I thought that was really cool that each shop had like, well, if I don't want to buy all of the skeins, then I can do just one skein and do this project, or I can do 2 skeins and do these 2 projects, or whatever. I thought that was pretty neat. Then, other purchases that I have made. I forgot to show this, I think. I don't think I've shown this yet. I subscribed to KnitCircus's newsletter, and they did a sort of Harry Potter themed email recently, and one of the things was these gradient socks. Have I shown these before? I'm so sorry. I feel like I might have done it on my other video if that I haven't uploaded yet. If I have, I'll cut it out. But anyway, this is a gradient. KnitCircus is awesome, and they do sets of socks, and so then they like tell you what size they are. I've never seen the small set. I've only seen the medium and the large, and I obviously would be medium to small, and that's, so it's 150 yards, 2 cakes of 150 yards. So, and then they're like perfectly gradiented, and that's why I wish that I could find the small set more often. I'm sure that those maybe are more dyed to order, which they'll do, but it's like whatever, I'll just use slightly less of whatever color inside or outside. And this is the colorway Parcel Tongue. I just had to do it, got my slithering going. I love KnitCircus. So speaking of KnitCircus, as I said, I was in Madison this weekend, and I went to KnitCircus, and I brought Steve and Sean, and there was only 30 minutes left to closing. I think we thought they closed at 5 and they closed at 4. Yeah. And so we got there at 3:30, and so we only had a half hour, and I spent most of that time walking around, and it was the first time that I'd been to the shop since they did their expansion. And Bug was working, and it was a sweater at the front of the shop, and it was gorgeous, and it's called I think it's like Gradient Solutions 2 or something, and it was like gray here, it was like shades of pink in a gradient in the center around the bust, and then it was gray again on the bottom, I believe. And she said that all of those sweater kits are completely dyed to order because they're customized to your body so that it works out exactly, which includes the body and then each sleeve, which is mind-blowing. That's a lot of effort, and so obviously expensive. But she let me try on the sweater to see if the size was good, and it was the medium, and it fit really nicely. Steve later told me it was a little short. Sorry, there are bees, many bees flying around me right now. Like, there's what looks like a hornet? Which ones are black and fat? Not a bumblebee. That one's flying around over there, and then I just have like yellow jackets around here. I'm pretty sure I'm actually right by a bee hole. Oh no, that's a Parks and Rec reference. Please don't mention my bee hole. But yeah, if any of you have ever encountered underground beehives, we have one. So you can't really see this tree super well. It's the saddest apple tree known to man. It is in a very, very sharp tilt, and see how it's been pulling out of the ground. It is really leany. I don't know what it's leaning towards because the sun, as I said, comes up and around, so I'm not really sure why it is so intensely unable to stand on its own legs. But we've tried staking it before. Our Steve's parents did back when they owned the house, and they were trying really hard. It doesn't want to stake down. Our neighbor next door asked if he said that he would help us. I think he has a big truck and tools and stuff, and he offered to help us restake it, but it's like there's a beehive underground over here, and it's just not really worth it. But I'm not afraid of bees, so I assume that since they're not wasps, I assume that they're not gonna sting me unless I piss them off. But Steve did mow earlier. They probably stung at him because he has been stung many times while mowing the lawn because of the bee hole. Anyway, speaking of that color, I did end up with one skein. Oh my god, and it's a Parks and Rec. I ended up with one skein of KnitCircus yarn that I ended up getting, and this is their Opulence. Ooh, that's 80% merino, 10% cashmere, 10% nylon. I usually don't buy the Opulence base because it's like $10, $11 more expensive, and KnitCircus is already expensive to begin with. For 440 yards with the 10% cashmere, this is $54 per skein. I remember the very first time I went to KnitCircus, I thought they were so expensive, and again, that was before I really knew about indie dyed yarn. But this is all the bacon and eggs you have, which is another Parks and Rec reference. And it's the beautiful shades of really like yolk colored outside all the way to the very light yellow on the inside, and it made me feel really happy when I found it, and so I had to have it. But in talking with Bug, I was explaining to her, so she runs KnitCircus. Shawl is the owner and Bug is sort of the like manager or something to that effect. I can't remember what her official title is, but she was like, oh my god, we love when people knit sweaters in our gradients, and she showed me another sweater and was like, hey, if you ever need any help, just email me, let me know, we can set something up. I'd mentioned just in passing that, you know, I always try to make it to KnitCircus, but their hours are difficult for me because I'm out of town, and she was like, oh my god, anytime you're coming in town, just let me know, we can make sure that the shop is open for you. And she like, even though the store was closed at 4, she didn't like rush us out or anything, but I know that that they're all very busy because it's a small operation, and so I didn't want to like impose. So I bought my yarn and I left, but I do really want to knit a gradient sweater from them, and that would be really fun to plan with her. So I do plan to follow up with her in the future so that we can do something like that. That was nice. Lastly, for yarn stuff or yarn related stuff, Sean and I did go to the, I think it's like Wisconsin Craft Market or Madison Craft Market or something like that, which is kind of like a glorified big box store. It very much reminds me of like a Joann Fabrics or Michael's, in that it has a bunch of crafty things in all variety, but it has a lot of yarn, and it has a lot of the big box style yarn, but it also carries like hedgehog fibers and leading men fiber arts and 3 Irish girls, and there's another really big one. I can't remember, but anyway, suffice to say, it has a range of yarns. It carries what appears to be almost the entire line of Cascade 220. I am not interested in Cascade 220, but 2007 Leah would be so excited. 2007 Leo wanted Cascade 220 so badly, because what really got me into knitting was I wanted to knit Harry Potter scarf, which, sad to say, I never did actually. And oh my god, that's so funny. So I'm just gonna go no, I'm not. Please hold that thought 1 second. So anyway, what I ended up getting from the Wisconsin Craft Market wasn't yarn, but was this bag. This is like a Wind Waker bag. It's the Wind Waker style of Zelda and Link and whatnot. It is a homegrown project bag that they were selling there for 20 bucks. But I don't know who, it's Wisconsin Craft Market. I don't know who made it though. It doesn't say. This was the tag that was on it. So, and it doesn't have any indicators on it. No tags on the inside, nothing. I feel like I have bought from this person before, because I feel like I encountered the same thing. But this is such a fun bright bag. Had to get it, of course. Come on. Okay, now we're going into this. There is a sweater called the Hogwarts A History sweater. I discovered it a couple months ago, and I thought in my head I would love to knit Sean a sweater. I know that she would love a Hogwarts A History. She's a small person, she's built very small, and so it would be really nice to try a colorwork sweater on someone where it seems like less of a risk. Does that make sense? I am, again, not a huge person, but I have very unique shapes. Like, I have like a large bust, and my waist gets smaller, and then my hips get bigger, and I have big arms, and so there's just so much happening in my body. And Shawn is a very like neutral shape. It's like so nice. She's a thin person, and she's proportionate to herself. She's not all over the place with her body shape. Anyway, so I thought to myself, I really want to knit her this, but I wouldn't want it to be a surprise / one that didn't fit, right? And I brought it up to her this weekend just to see how interested she would be, and she was so hype about it, which was exciting. And she looked at the charts, and she picked out what she wanted, and she told me the colors, and I think we're gonna try to secure the yarn, or a yarn that's very close to what's in the sample, by Bad Girl Wolf Knits. I think it's Bad Girl Wolf Knits. That's what the sample is, but the sample's knit in a 38, and Shawn is much smaller than that. So I'm excited to try to figure all of that out with her. I'm excited to knit. It would be my first big colorwork project that isn't just duplicate stitch, and I just think it would be awesome. But what made me think of that, and why I jumped the gun and started talking about it right now, was because when I was thinking about Cascade 220, it reminded me of that really popular book of Harry Potter knits. Was it just called Potter Knits? I forgot to check to see if I actually own it. I don't know if I do own it, or if I did own it, or if I wanted to own it. But it's the like really famous, you know, Harry Potter knits, and I teased Ben because he's like 6'3". He's like a much larger person than me or Shawn, and I teased him that knitting him a sweater would be an extremely risky endeavor, and and he was like, come on, I would just want a Weasley sweater. And so, and he described it as ill-fitting and scratchy, like just this silly sweater that is made with love. God, I hate crows. They terrorize our bunnies. And I was like, oh my god, if I knit him a sweater in Cascade 220, which I'm sure is what's used in the book because, that's what all of those traditional knits were done in, that would be the exact perfect Weasley sweater. I forgot to determine whether or not he'd want a B or an R. I think he'd probably want a B because he wouldn't want the actual Ron Weasley sweater, right? He'd want the Ben Weasley sweater. But yeah, Hogwarts history. Once I start that, I will show you more pictures. I will show you pictures of it, and I probably won't start it for a while, but I am really excited, so I might start it earlier than I maybe should. I feel like there's some other things that I should be working on, but that is really exciting. And what's so funny is that Nadir Tani, Kalisha of Quirky Monday, actually has started her own Hogwarts history sweater, so that's hilarious. I think that's it for all of my knitting stuff, life stuff. So, as I said, we were at Madison this weekend. Ostensibly, we were there for a mini golf tournament. I had been feeling wishy-washy about participating after last year. Last year, I felt really competitive, and I was just having fun, and I'm not that great at mini golf. I really like mini golf, but I'm not great at it. But Shawn said she would also do it this year. Oh, that was another thing. I was the only girl, and not to say that matters a lot, but I feel like we all know how kind of bro-y it can feel when it's just like guys and then me, and then one female or whatever, one woman. But this year it was me and Shawn, and then I think there were 3 other women, and that was nice. So it was like 5 women in the tournament. To be fair, 2 of them were girlfriends of guys who were in the tournament taking it relatively seriously, and the girls were not taking it seriously at all. And what I mean by that is that for the 2 courses, par is like 130-ish, and 160, 120, 130, I think so. And you know, for 2 courses for 36 holes, and one of the girls got like 190, one of the other girls got like 175, like these really high numbers. And so, I mean, that kind of sucked, but they're also drinking a lot because the course sells beer. But yeah, anyway, it was actually a lot of fun. Last year was only 18 holes, this year was 36, and that made it feel like a really good length of time. We got to start in groups where we knew at least one person, whereas last year it was all assigned. And a lot of that kind of only worked out because like a lot of people didn't show up and a lot of people weren't registered. Like Ben told us that he registered us, but he didn't actually, like that kind of thing. And our first group was awesome because it ended up being me, Steve, and Dustin. And then the second group kind of sucked because we got split by our scores. And so I ended up with the 2 boyfriends of those 2 girls. And there was just like a lot of cheating happening. Like they were drinking and they were just like, oh, let's call that a 3 or whatever, because they weren't trying to win, but they were also trying to get scores that weren't super embarrassing. But it's like, why cheat on a mini golf tournament if you're not gonna win? Like it was just really strange and kind of frustrating. But other than that part, I had fun. Like they were pleasant. And Ben ended up taking second. Last year he won. Last year he unseated the like 2-time reigning champion, but that guy got so tilted that he ended up getting third because he like heard what Ben's score was and realized that he probably wasn't gonna catch him, so he like did so badly that he went from second to third. And then this year he beat Ben by 2 strokes. So he had a 102 and Ben had a 104. And then Shawn practiced a bunch before this tournament and she ended up getting 5th, and like the people who got 3rd, 4th, and 5th were like within like a couple, I think it was even 3 strokes of each other. I think it was 120, 121, and 122. And then Steve got 7th and I got 8th out of, I think, 14 people played. So that was really fun. And then we ended up, I mean, there's 3 courses at Vitens, and so on Sunday the 4 of us went and we played the 3rd course, and I was doing really well, and then I choked really hard on 2 holes, but otherwise I did pretty well. And so I think our plan is to like actually go to Madison. Like we haven't been to Madison that often this year, and we want to go more so we can practice more mini golf. So yeah, that was great. We also went to Sauzier, as we do. Me and Shawn got to have like a morning breakfast date at Sauzier, which was great because the boys meant to go to brunch. It was Steve and Ben, and then a couple of Ben's high school / college friends, something to that effect. I can't remember where they met, but the other 2 guys wanted to leave earlier in the day, and the place that they tried to go to, the line was too long, so then they were going to go to IHOP, and the line was too long, and so they ended up eating at McDonald's. And so I am so happy for mine and Shawn's Sauzier Cool Calm Collect amazing oatmeal breakfast date. And I think that's about it. We didn't play any ITG over the weekend. That was crazy. Steve and I actually haven't been playing a lot of ITG, and I think Ben also hasn't been playing a lot of ITG. We're just kind of all on like a little break for now. Let's end on this happy note. A great weekend, had so much fun. Weather is gorgeous. Tonight we are going to, me and my friends are going to do an escape room. It's video game themed. Ben and Sean, who do lots of escape rooms, so this is the best one they've ever done. So I am excited to try it and report back to you. Thank you for watching my podcast, and I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like, please subscribe, follow me on Instagram, interact with me. Everyone is always quiet except for my mom. Hi, Mom. Say hi. I hope you have a wonderful week or 2. Keep an eye out for my other yarn video, even though it will be out of order, but you know, it'll be okay. So I will talk to you guys again soon. Bye.